Hello, hello, and everybody. Welcome to the International Euphonium Summit. I'm your host, Nicholas Haffter von Heide, and today, with our second in series, we have Stephen Alesso. Welcome back, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're able to fit this into your schedule uh, and to be able to do all this and to get your perspective and your journey on your living history series. And so, for those that this is your first time, welcome to the Living History series. This is Stephen's second in series. You can find his first living series history down below in the links, or even his webpage at www.internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Stephen with the V dash Alesso. And for more information, where to find all his links, all his cool tunes, and his TikTok especially. So, we're going to dive right back into your latter parts of your high school years, jumping into the summer, and then possible first couple years at college.
Sounds great.
Cool beans. So, where we left off, I think, was your junior year and kind of wrapping up the Saturday, all city concert band and stuff like that.
Yeah. So this was around the time that I had kind of made it official in my head that I wanted to pursue euphonium instead of trumpet because at that time I was still like kind of bouncing between both instruments, both ensemble wise and also like mentally. I guess like emotionally too, because like it is like a commitment to switch to a different instrument and then be like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I'm defining myself by. Um, so junior year was like a very like pivotal year for me because I was like, okay, like yeah, I'm doing euphonium and like wind ensemble sometimes, doing trumpet in like the all city band, and like also starting to like play trombone in like the newly formed jazz band. So that all happens like a full year of like switching between those three instruments, and then senior year comes around, um and I get my own euphonium at this point. I had talked a little bit about making my own PowerPoint presentation to my mom and being like, "Oh, like yeah, this is why like I would like a euphonium." So she caves and she buys me a euphonium because she's awesome like that. And that presentation somehow worked. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, got it, euphonium acquired." Um, and so I like have a lot of fun just like discovering one, what a euphonium is supposed to sound like. Two, what a compensating system is supposed to feel like, and like also three, having the responsibilities of like my own euphonium, which is like the maintenance side of that, and also just like listening to a lot of like recordings and getting myself a little bit more acclimated to like just the euphonium world. Because like, okay, now that I have this instrument, it's like, okay, it's again another big commitment. Um, so senior year comes around, and everything's going pretty great. I'm now a euphonium player, and I audition for the all city band on euphonium instead, which is great. I get in on euphonium, and it was awesome. Like we were doing some cool rep. We were doing variations on America by Charles Ives, Vittorio Giannini's Symphony 3. Beautiful piece. And we did a couple other things. I think Brian Balmage's Groove Music. And there was like one other piece that I forget the name of, but yeah, all really cool rep that I had never played before and on euphonium too. So it was nice to like, this was a good introduction to that. Um, and it was great. And then like of course like senior year of high school you're auditioning for like colleges and stuff like that. So I had auditioned for a couple of different colleges: Fredonia, Purchase, New Paltz, like all the different CUNYs, so like CSI, uh I think Baruch, BMCC, Brooklyn College, um Queens College, all the different CUNYs and SUNYs. If you're in New York, you know what those mean. But for anyone who's not in New York, uh, CUNY is an acronym. It stands for City University of New York, and SUNY is State University of New York. And so I had auditioned for all those. I applied to all those like academically, got into all of them, thankfully. And so like I had to make the decision of like where to go. So it had always been a dream of mine to go to Brooklyn College because like I think in sixth or seventh grade, I had a friend who was going there and he was talking about how good the music program was, and I was like, that had always stuck, so I was like, okay, yeah, like Brooklyn College, I can just like go there, and it's like easy commute too, like it's a bus ride away, which is very convenient for me. So did all that, and yeah, I I went to Brooklyn College a couple times during my senior year just to like, have like a little tour and be more familiar with the conservatory. Um, and yeah, senior year was like great in a lot of ways. But like musically, it was like also kind of tough. I was very like close to the chemistry and physics department. And so I would occasionally like, stick around after school to talk to the teacher. And I would just tell him like, oh yeah, these are like my plans for like the future and stuff like that. Like, and tell him about like music. And he said like a lot of like, I don't know, just discouraging stuff to me about like music in general, which like really upset me to a point where like I like cried a bunch in front of him. And like I also like I don't want to say confronted, but like I essentially like went up to him like one day, like right before class and said like, oh, this like really bothered me, like what you said. And like I just like broke down in like tears saying like this like hurt my feelings and made me feel like, that I can't succeed as like a musician. Whether or not I was in the right for that, I don't know, but I feel like I needed to like say that to him because like it just kind of like destroyed my whole perspective on like, being a musician and like actually pursuing something that made me happy at that time. And to hear like the words of like, oh, like, yeah, it's not a good idea from someone who I like really respected. I don't know. It just like struck a chord with me in a bad way. Um, so that kind of sucked. And then,
So what did you
um,
do with that with how you came home during that time, and you've already been accepted to all these amazing universities and colleges, and your mom possibly going with you to these campus tours, I just suppose.
yeah,
And you bring that.
it was weird because my mom was like the first person that I had like brought this up with. Um, and like I was just confused like whether or not like what I was feeling was valid because I was like, okay, I've never kind of experienced something like this before where like somebody who you look up to and who you respect and also who like you kind of like work for, because I was also like handling like, like essentially like a TA position in high school but like not getting paid, just like, having fun, like helping out and stuff like that. um and uh and she made me feel validated in that sense of like, okay, like yeah, like he shouldn't have like said that. I think it was also me like getting used to the fact that like it's a hustle to be a musician, especially like as a euphonium player. Like there's not that many stable jobs or like careers out there for us, and to hear that from somebody who like you respect, and let alone like a chemistry and physics teacher, is like whoa, like like that's not something like you expect. So thankfully like that all kind of got sorted out, sort of. I still had kind of this like looming weight on my shoulders of like, okay, like yeah, I guess I'm like going into this thing headstrong and blind. Because up until that point, I was just like so passionate about just like pursuing it, or pursuing this like dream of like doing something in music. I'm not sure what. I think at the time I wanted to be like a soloist, but um, just now being faced with the reality of like, okay, maybe this will be a little bit tougher than I think. Was just like, okay, here we go. Yeah, like I'm committed. It's no turning back now. Um, and then like so the year goes along, and then so in the All City Concert Band, like we have a concert a year. It's at the end of the year. It's like around March, May, or something around that time, April maybe. Um, and it's at NYU Skirball Hall, beautiful hall. And so there's a green room that all of us wait in, and it's all the all city bands. It's so many. It's the orchestra, it's the jazz band, and it's the concert band. We all wait in the same green room. There's also a choir, but they wait in a different room. And it's like 300 high schoolers stuffed into this like cramped room. It's so funny. But it's something that is also really nice because we get to stay there for like 8 hours or something from like 9 in the morning to like, 10 at night. I know that's more than 8 hours, but like actively like being in that room because like we're going back doing sound checks, it's like 8 hours. But it's really nice because like, we're all friends. We're all just like, playing card games. People have like their Switch games or like, I think one person bought like someone brought like a PlayStation one time, which was so funny. So it's really nice. You get to like connect with like all these high schoolers and stuff, and like it's nice. So there was a moment like I think it was either right after or right before we went on stage for our concert. I was talking to like uh the director or the main director of the concert band. Um and he essentially was, just asking me about like, what my future plans are and stuff like that. And he like said the same thing that the chemistry and physics teacher said, like just like very like discouraging words for like a euphonium player, which I don't blame him because it's like, you know,
Well, no,
euphonium players in the 20th 21st century, it's like okay, like other than military bands and soloing, like what are you going to do, right? But again, to just hear those words like as a high school student, I don't know. It just really upset me. Like,
let me ask you this though, Stephen. Since you've had all this time to reflect upon those, in the light that you have and the passion that you have, and it's been really amazing, especially that last podcast and video segment that we did, that first of. How would you have giving that same, and I suppose this would be in wrapping up, we're not even into college just yet, but as we're wrapping this shorter segment up, how would you give that same person that's looking for that same advice their senior year going into euphonium in the college setting? How would you reframe that, and how would you bring that to our next generation, our future euphonium majors?
so I think a lot about the landscape of music majors as a whole. Um, all music majors need to come into the understanding that the traditional route of musician being, or especially like music performance majors, because I'm also or I was a music performance major. Um, all of all students, whether that be like before college, in college, or post college, I think they all need to, or we all need to understand that there is so many avenues when it comes to music making and music careers. The tradition of just being taught how to audition for a major orchestra, a major military band, what have you. Um, those careers are very nice, but they are not the only option. There is so much that you could do, or there's so much you can do with anything involved with music that doesn't have to be strictly like performing at your highest caliber, which is very intimidating in a lot of ways for like especially myself because I also had very, very low self-esteem in college and in high school. And it like that has a direct effect on like my playing too, because I don't feel like adequate enough to like go into a field where it's hyper competitive and there's so many great players. And it's like for myself, it's like, okay, like I believe in myself, but like just being surrounded by people who are like so much better than you, that like, you know, that does a number on you for long periods of time. So I'd say if there's anything I could tell like, you know, music majors or people who are going into like, you know, music as a major, it's that like there are so many avenues that you can go with music. That doesn't just have to be the traditional route of like oh, audition ensemble, audition ensemble, audition ensemble, so many different things. And like the best part about right now is that you can create your own opportunities to do that. Like the advent of social media has created an abundance of different directions for you to network and also create, which is the best part of music. Like you get to like share your own story. And that is inherently very special in itself. Those stories need to be heard by young musicians,
Absolutely.
and especially with like social media, like we have the access to do that. Granted, not everybody has an internet connection or a phone, but like those two things kind of set the baseline of like, okay, like I have the ability to like record something. I have the ability to create something, and that's something that's really special. Like nowhere or like in history did we have this immediate access of like storytelling, and to be able to have those uh not not like the not the like I don't know what to call it, like the motivation, yeah, but like the I get
Avenue.
yeah, the access, I guess, to be able to create. Like this is like the first time in history where it's been this easy to do it. And I think taking advantage of that is like really important. But again, like creating your own opportunities. Like everyone is like everyone has their own perspective in life and everyone is coming from their own experiences. So like that's something that like everyone should pride themselves in, is that like you have a unique sense of life. That is special, whether it be musical, or like simply like emotional. Um, Tap into that. Like there's something there for everyone. And when you tell that story, you have the ability then to resonate with like other people who have gone through similar experiences. So that's my 2 cents on that.
That's awesome, Stephen. And that was a great way to flip that negative into an inspiring positive, and to help those that are even at the fifth and sixth grade levels, and with possibly something that a parent may say or other teachers may say, to be able to help those uh, future euphonium students out, or even musicians in general. And I really appreciate that. And those that who aren't aware of Stephen Alesso and how he brought up social media, he is pretty big in social media, especially TikTok. With how many followers do you have?
I think like 149,000, something like that.
Something like that.
You
So
lose count after after a little while.
yeah, I understand that, but it's still something to attain and shoot for. You may not have the best ability to do storytelling, and that's for sure with me with doing these podcasts and these video segments. But it's all a learning period, and it's you have to put the work in, and if it's your purpose and your drive, don't let anybody else tell you the otherwise. Use that for fuel to move forward. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. You can find out more at www.internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Stephen-Alesso for all of his pages, all his links, as well as his TikTok. And for more information, you can find out with the link below. Find his links to his YouTube channel here, and we will talk to everybody next time. Thanks for joining. Have a great day, everybody.